Forgiveness isn't about saying that what happened to you is okay, and it is not excusing the hurt that you feel. It is about finding peace and releasing the pain of what happened to you. And maybe ask yourself why you're holding on to it. Is it to protect yourself? Is it to remember a lesson that happened? Are you stuck replaying the hurt in your head? Because it keeps us stuck in the past and stops us from moving forward. And it can possibly even fuel more pain. I know that I've seen this image of a hand holding onto a rope, and they are just holding on, and their hand is just hurting more and more. And eventually it just starts to overwhelm them of carrying that. And instead, all they have to do is release the rope and the pain will go away. But that act of actually opening up and allowing the rope to be let go sometimes is the hardest part. Sometimes with opening up and releasing is hurting you because you do have to deal with whatever it is that you needed to let go of. After some time, that pain will subside and your hand will go back to normal. It is like carrying a suitcase, and you're just taking this event and putting it into the suitcase and carrying it around with you. And another person has hurt you. You take that and you put it back into the suitcase. And eventually you're just going to open up this suitcase and realize how heavy it is. When all reality, all you have to do is let go of the suitcase. All you have to do is let go of the actions that have hurt you. And I'm not saying that those actions were okay. And I'm not saying that your feelings should be pushed down because what you felt, it's okay. And that's a hard thing. And I know that I keep saying that it is okay because I didn't ever feel like I could feel those, what was done to me. I always felt like, oh, it was my fault. And I kept holding on to that anger and I kept holding on to that hurt and I kept putting that into my suitcase. And eventually I realized that it just started to weigh me down. It started to put so much stress and pressure on me that I eventually became depressed. All I had to do was let go. All I had to do was even just allow myself to let go. Just stop allowing yourself to let the past control your present. Because eventually I realized that holding on to that hurt and that anger and everything else that I was storing away in this suitcase was so much energy that was being put forth to it that I could have been putting forth into love and into joy and into better things that I wanted to have in my life. And instead, I chose to hold on to that. And once you start to forgive the other person, it allows you to see and understand and have empathy for that person. And again, I'm not saying that what they did was right or okay, but you can almost start to see why they did what they did. In that moment, it allows your heart to open. It allows that love to come out. And for me, I know that I would rather have love than anger in my life. I would rather have that love rather than anger in my suitcase. Now, remember that forgiveness is a process, and you can start small. Start by writing down what you're feeling, or if you can speak your feelings out loud, that's as good as writing it down. And even if you can't forgive that person, just allowing yourself to forgive is even a smaller step. There were so many times that I just said, I allow myself to forgive. I allow myself to forgive today. And starting with just that moment of allowing myself to do it opened up the next step of being able to actually forgive that person for what had happened. And with each step that you take in forgiving somebody, in forgiving yourself, it releases a little bit more hurt, a little bit more anger, a little bit more resentment that you were holding on to, that I was holding on to. Forgiveness sets you free. It may not set the other person free, but it will set you free. Choose to release those emotions. Choose your emotional freedom. Forgiveness doesn't have to do with the other person. Forgiveness is about you so that you are no longer tied to those hurt feelings, so that you are not tied to the past hurt. You stop letting it affect your present, and it allows you to have more peace and more joy in your life.